Have you ever spent hours cramming for a test, only to feel like you've forgotten everything the very next day? What if the study methods you were taught in school, sitting still, focusing for hours, and avoiding mistakes at all costs, were actually holding you back from your true potential? Did you know that strategically forgetting information is actually one of the most powerful scientific hacks to lock it into your long-term memory? It's time to unlearn the old rules and discover how your brain was truly designed to learn. Subscribe to English Vibe Daily right now, because who knows? Maybe later we won't get a chance to meet again. Hello, my wonderful friends, and welcome back to English Vibe Daily. I'm Adam, and today we are going to dive into a truly fascinating and life-changing book. It is called How We Learn: The Surprising Truth About When, Where, and Why It Happens. And the author is an award-winning science journalist named Benedict Carey. This book is a game-changer because it explores the real science of how our brilliant brains actually learn, absorb, and remember information. It reveals the exciting truth that many of the things we firmly believe about studying, like needing a quiet room and long hours of intense focus, are not just incorrect, but can actually be counterproductive. This book is your guide to understanding how to remember more, study smarter, and most importantly, how to actually enjoy the entire process of learning. In our session today, we will journey through the book's key ideas together. I will explain each groundbreaking concept in simple, clear English, and I will share relatable examples and mini stories to make the lessons stick. Are you ready to unlock a smarter way of learning? Let's begin this exciting exploration together. The very first chapter of the book starts with a bold and surprising command. Forget everything you think you know about learning. The author, Benedict Carey, says that most of us, especially students, fundamentally misunderstand how our brains are wired to learn. We have this popular image of a good student sitting silently at a desk, completely still, reading for hours on end and focusing with intense discipline. We think this is the gold standard, the only path to real learning. But modern neuroscience shows that this is not always true, and in many cases, it's not even the most effective way. Our brain is not a computer or a machine that you can simply download information into. It is a living, breathing, and constantly growing part of our body. It is a biological organ that learns best in many different ways, through rich experiences, through making and correcting mistakes, through playful curiosity, and through the simple act of trying again and again. Think back to how we first started learning as babies. We didn't sit still and read flashcards. We learned by actively exploring and playing. We touched everything. We moved around constantly. We listened intently. We watched the world with wide eyes. And we copied the people around us. That natural, active, and multisensory way of learning is still incredibly powerful, even for us as adults. The author also reveals a fascinating secret. The physical place where you study dramatically matters. If you always study the same subject in the exact same room, at the exact same desk, your brain creates a strong connection between the information and that specific environment. The memory becomes stuck to that room. But here's the magic trick. If you deliberately study in different places, your memory of that information becomes much stronger, more flexible, and easier to recall anywhere. Changing your environment forces your brain to build more neural connections to the same piece of information. For example, if you are learning a new list of English vocabulary words in your bedroom today, try reviewing them in the kitchen tomorrow while you make a cup of tea. The next day, take 5 minutes to go over them while sitting in a park or a coffee shop. Your brain will link those words to many different contexts, smells, and sounds. This makes it far easier for you to remember and use those words in any situation later on. The core message here is beautifully simple. True learning isn't just about discipline. It is about creating the right, dynamic conditions for your brain to thrive. Embrace your curiosity, try new and unconventional methods, and make your learning an active adventure. Now let's talk about something we all dread: forgetting. We often feel so bad when we forget a piece of information we just learned. We see forgetting as a sign of failure or weakness. But the author reveals a stunning truth. Forgetting is not your enemy. Forgetting is actually an essential and helpful part of the learning process. Our memory works much like a muscle. When we first learn something, the memory is weak. When we allow ourselves to forget it a little, and then we have to work hard to try and remember it again. That effort is like lifting a weight. The act of retrieving the forgotten memory makes the neural pathway to it much, much stronger. Scientists call this powerful phenomenon the spacing effect, and it is the scientific reason why spaced repetition is the undisputed king of memorization techniques. Spaced repetition simply means reviewing information several times, but with strategically planned breaks of increasing length in between. For example, if you learn 10 new English idioms today, don't just repeat them 50 times in a row. Instead, review them for a few minutes tomorrow. Then, review them again 3 days later. Then try to recall them again after a week has passed. Each time you force your brain to pull that information out of the depths of your memory, it becomes stronger and more permanent. Forgetting also acts like your brain's personal cleaning service. It intelligently clears out unnecessary details so that the most important core memories are easier to find. So please do not worry if you forget things. It simply means your brain is actively working and making room for what truly matters. Another groundbreaking idea in the book is the power of mixing things up. Most people believe that to learn effectively, they should focus intensely on one single thing at a time. They'll spend 3 hours studying just one grammar rule until they feel they have mastered it. But the author shows that mixing or interleaving different topics and skills together in one study session is far more effective for long-term learning. When you mix different subjects, your brain is forced to think harder. It can't go on autopilot. It has to constantly decide which rule or idea is needed for each different problem. This extra mental effort is what makes learning deeper and the resulting memory far more durable. Imagine a great tennis player. They don't just practice their forehand for 3 hours straight. They practice their forehand, then their backhand, then their serve, in a mixed-up, game-like way. This is how they get better at playing actual tennis. It's the same for learning English. Don't just study grammar for 2 hours. Instead, try studying a new grammar rule for 20 minutes, then switch to listening to an English podcast for 20 minutes. After that, spend 20 minutes trying to write a short paragraph that uses the new grammar rule. This approach might feel more difficult and chaotic in the moment. You might even feel like you are learning less because it's not as easy. But that feeling of difficulty is a clear sign that your brain is working deeply and building strong, flexible connections. As the author wisely says, easy learning often disappears quickly. Harder, more effortful learning is what stays with you for life. And what about one of the most underrated learning tools we have? Rest and sleep. Benedict Carey is passionate about this point. Sleep is not wasted time. Sleep is one of the most active and important phases of learning. While we are sleeping, our brain is working hard to organize all the information we learned during the day. It creates new connections between ideas, strengthens the important memories by replaying them, and sometimes even discovers creative solutions to problems we were stuck on. This is not just a nice idea. It has been proven by research. Studies consistently show that people who get a good night's sleep after studying remember significantly more than people who stay awake all night to cram. You can think of sleep as your own secret, expert tutor working silently inside your head while you rest. Short breaks during your study time are also incredibly powerful. Taking even a 5-minute break every half hour gives your brain crucial time to process and consolidate information before you try to add more. When you return, you come back with fresh energy and a renewed ability to focus. So, let's get rid of the guilt we feel for resting. Prioritizing good sleep and strategic breaks is not lazy. It's one of the smartest learning strategies you can possibly use. One of the book's most empowering ideas is that testing is learning. We usually think of tests as a stressful tool for judging what we know. But the author shows us that tests are actually one of the absolute best ways to learn and strengthen memories. Every time we try to recall an answer for a test, even if we get it wrong, we are strengthening the neural pathway to that memory. This powerful process is called retrieval practice. Simply put, the act of pulling information out of your brain is a much more powerful learning event than simply trying to cram information in by rereading it. Testing acts like a diagnostic tool. It shows you exactly what you remember well and what you have forgotten, so you know precisely where you need to focus more work. Let's take a practical example. After you read a short story in English, don't just reread it. Instead, close the book and try to write down a short summary of the story from memory. You might forget some details, but the effort of trying to retrieve the plot will make your memory of that story so much stronger than if you had just passively read it a second time. The author encourages us to use fun, low-stakes self-testing methods like making our own flashcards, using online quiz tools, or simply trying to explain a new concept out loud to an imaginary friend. Testing turns studying from a passive activity into an active and highly effective process. And what about the one thing we're always told to avoid? Distractions. We are constantly told that to learn we must find a quiet place and avoid all distractions. But the author shares that small, brief distractions can sometimes actually help our learning. This happens through a process called incubation. When you step away from a difficult problem for a little while, your conscious mind gets a break, but your powerful subconscious mind continues to work on it in the background. It searches for solutions and makes new connections. Have you ever been really stuck on writing something and then you go to take a shower or a short walk and suddenly the perfect idea just pops into your head? That is the power of incubation! When you work on one thing for too long without a break, your mind becomes tired and your focus narrows. A short different activity can restart your brain. The key, of course, is balance. Mindlessly scrolling through social media for an hour is a destructive distraction. But taking a purposeful 5-minute break to go for a walk, listen to a song, or do a few stretches can be an incredibly powerful tool for problem solving and creativity. Let's also explore a fascinating idea: learning without even thinking. Not all learning is conscious and deliberate. A huge amount of our learning happens implicitly, when we are not even trying. It happens when our brain naturally detects patterns, when we are immersed in a language, or when we repeat simple actions again and again. Think about it. Children learn their incredibly complex native language without a single grammar lesson. They just listen, absorb, and copy. As adults, we also learn this way. We learn social rules, how to drive a car, or the feel of musical patterns without conscious direct study. This has huge implications for your English learning. If you listen to English language podcasts or music while you are cooking or cleaning, you are still learning. Your brain is subconsciously noticing the rhythm, the pronunciation, and the grammatical patterns, even if you are not paying full attention. This type of learning is wonderful because it feels easy and natural. You can leverage it simply by surrounding yourself with the language or skill you want to learn as much as possible. Finally, we must talk about the power of our mistakes. So many of us are terrified of making mistakes. We think that making a mistake means we have failed. But this book shows that our mistakes are one of our greatest learning assets. When we make a mistake and then we are corrected, our brain pays extra special attention. It flags the error and wants to fix it. This process builds a much stronger and more accurate memory of the right answer. Making mistakes also builds your courage and confidence. It teaches you that failure is a normal and necessary part of progress. So I encourage you to be brave. Speak English even if you are not sure it's perfect. The feedback you get from your mistakes is what will help you improve the fastest. So, my wonderful friends, let's review these powerful lessons from How We Learn. Forgetting is not failure. It's a tool for growth. Studying in different places strengthens your memory. Mixing different topics together makes your learning deeper. Sleep and breaks are non-negotiable parts of the process. Actively testing yourself is more powerful than passively rereading. Short distractions can spark creativity, and your mistakes are your most valuable teachers. These incredible lessons show us that learning smarter is not about working harder. It is about understanding the natural, brilliant way your brain was designed to learn, and finally starting to work with it, not against it. Thank you so much for joining me for this lesson on English Vibe Daily. I'm Adam, and until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and never stop believing in your amazing potential. Bye for now.